weirdness, eh? Why would I go off about that? Crushes like a 13-year-old. Stupid. They mean nothing. And this is like writing in my diary. Except for I didn't do that. Why didn't I talk about all the stuff going on? Maybe because I don't know how to talk about all the stuff going on. The flooding, right? Everybody's like, woo, climate change, oh my god, it might be real. Notice I said might? Yeah. Excuse me. Except for it's not just climate change. And I know that I go on and on and on about it's all connected, but it really, really is. And this is one of those times that somebody else put together part of it for me, and I was like, dude. What happened here is torrential amounts of rain. But that's what's in the news. But really, being in it, this is not the worst we've had for rain. What was it? 2 years ago, 3 years ago? 71 days in a row it rained. 71 days in a row. It rained every day. Like, not continuously all day long. But it rained every day. And you'd think, if a mountain's coming down, that's the time for it to happen, right? 71 days of rain. It got a little iffy in around my abode, right? There was some puddles and stuff going on around front and out back, and I'm like, but it's been worse. Like, this is one of the reasons I have pounds, not more, of rocks that I've collected and brought home, and it had to do with filling in where there's been puddles since I moved in. So this little bit that we just had wasn't all that bad. Really? In the grand scheme of seasons? I should have picked up my water before I came out here and sat down. Want to come adventuring? Let's go adventuring. I don't even know how much of me you can see. But anyway, we're going to the kitchen so I can get my water out of the freezer. Excuse me. So yeah, not all that bad for rain and stuff. Now, what's that? Well, it's cold. That's something, right? What happens when it rains this much when you live in a valley in between giant mountains, okay? Is, if there's understory, yeah, I've got you in the wrong spot. If there's understory underneath the trees, then that helps the rain, like, it catches it and keeps it where it needs to be, but doesn't take out, like, big bits of it, because the plants and the stuff that's fallen, the tree detritus, tree dust, right, the leaves and needles and all the rest of it, are there to catch it and keep it where it needs to be, instead of clear cutting. And I know that it's been going on for many, many years. Anytime I would go for a drive in and around where I live, it's sad to look out on what should be magnificent. It's beautiful. It's on the freaking license plates. Beautiful BC. Except for big swatches could be just torn off sides of mountains, and it's just brown. And everybody's always got a freaking excuse, right? Oh, facial leakage. Water. Hydration. Important. In moderation. With things to be able to hold it where it needs to stay. Anyway, so clear cutting. If there's no trees there, and if you've ever seen clear cutting, if you haven't, please Google. See the devastation, because there's nothing left behind. So when it rains, the way it's rained forever, and the things have evolved to live there, and there's nothing living there to stop the rains take out what's next. That's soil erosion. It just takes it. It takes all the little bits, the sand, the silt, and it moves everything that's on top of it, under it, around it. And that's where mudslides and landslides come in. And here, I live in the valley, in the Fraser Valley, BC, and I live in one of the cities that for the first little bit, there was no in, there was no out. There was nowhere to go unless you had a helicopter, which, for the first day or two when I was hearing the helicopters go, like almost round the clock, it was because they were taking them off the side of the mountain, just down the road, just down the highway, and where both sides of the road had been taken out, and there was people stranded just up the road. And it sounds like one of those Canadian things to say, you know, oh, it's just up the road a bit, you know. 20 minutes, hop, skip, and a jump. By car, it's 20 minutes. One of the big rivers is the Fraser, over that way. And it's less than 20 minutes from where I live. There's a slough that's 3 roads away that came up to the road, like where the bridge is. Go in the other direction, and people were getting evacuated off the sides of the mountains over that way. Pieces of road, the plastic duct stuff that goes underneath roads. One piece, there was a video, and it flipped up and it took out a geese and its babies, and it just took the whole thing, and as it tipped over and rushed down the other side of the mountain, it was taking out a tree. Whole last tree just flipped. That was that. The horses, did you see where they rescued the horses? That was amazing, right? And then it took another 24 hours before I heard anything about the cows. I haven't gone looking. I'm afraid to go look. Not that I'm not like all. I am heartbroken over it. Actually, I don't know where I was going with that one, but I'm not like, I don't go up and want to hug a cow. I'm ever so thankful for a burger. God. But they're giant, gentle beings. And to know that them and their babies were stuck out there for hours. I know I saw one video where there was sections on the inside of a barn. I do believe there was 3 different farms had a handful of calves each in each section. People are trying so hard. So hard. Because, you know, the world's falling apart. It's okay. Climate change, it's not really real. It's just, you know, just stop using plastic straws. It's fine. It's fine. Get a metal straw. They're not that bad. I suggest straight straws, not anything with a bend. Makes it really hard to clean. This is probably why I didn't talk about it. This is only the first part. I don't think I talk about it much over here, but over on that other platform, I follow and share the voices of a lot of Indigenous people. I've been following the Fairy Creek thing because trees. Okay. Poor Doug, hey. Oh, okay. Oregon. Oh. We're getting there. Okay. So, all the babies going on vacation for Tofino. All the stuffs. And, the Pope. And now the floods. The fires. Remember the fires during the summer? And the hundreds of people that died from the heat, because people were finally realizing, yes, it's not just people that live in trailers that take temperatures that say 50. Everybody's reading 50. People died. Okay, come back. So, this has been a grand year. And so Fairy Creek, flooding, massive flooding. Being cut off from the rest of the world. It's wow, right? Oh yeah, don't forget about the earthquakes and stuff. Remember I put out a video 2 weeks ago or something. Yeah, so anyway, back to here in BC, in beautiful British Columbia, in the land Canada that everybody holds in such high esteem. We're used to. Now there's social media and people talk. As much as myself and others kind of laughed, well, not laughed, that's the wrong way of putting it, but it was kind of a, yeah, that's you, to the States, when their cops were being bought by big oil, right, to take on the protesters. Oh, that can't happen here. Or if it did, it would be on a small scale, right? You know, it'd be like town police, not the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. RCMP are for hire. And while they're up there in Wet'suwet'en, I never say it right. They're only carrying guns. No zip ties, no taser, nothing for taking somebody without killing them. That's my Canada today. That's my province today. Hurting. They don't. None of this makes sense. Unless I really am living in a science fiction thing, or maybe, maybe I'm dead. Maybe I, like, or, I've been hit by the car, or, yeah, maybe when I was hit by the car when I was 16, this is like one of those things that just, your brain, they say you live through your whole life. Well, what if you actually lived through the possibility of what could have been? So I'm not really here. I don't know. Stupid, right? Doesn't matter. And if I, the thoughts that go through my head, I guess, are crazy. And so I was starting to feel comfortable talking about them. And anyway, that video's taken down. A couple others are taken down too. So they may be far out theories. Why not just leave me alone in it? The fucking world is on fire. Neen got her fur babies out here, though, right? So there's that. She got here. She made it over the mountain. And then she made it back so she could go back to work. And the rains have started again. And they're suggesting people don't, unless they absolutely have to, come back this way. Nope. I don't know why I'm looking that way. Maybe hoping to see the moon, except for it wouldn't be over there. It might be that way. I don't know. I saw it coming up that way the other night. It was funny for me. Yeah, there's other things that I'd love to vent about. Maybe I will. I don't know. I'm not doing well. I'm afraid to even say that out loud because, my whole existence is already put into question. Mental faculties. Everything about me. And the world's falling apart. But But it's okay. Everything will be fine, right? It's weird. I'm sitting here looking at the brushes. This glass of makeup brushes that I told myself before that I was going to do that, or at least pretend. Before I took another video, but I did not. Oh well. Yeah. Doesn't really matter, does it? Even all this. It's kind of funny. Just pointed out. EMP. It's not that it, or a coronal discharge. It's not going to take out just what's here on the planet. It'll take out all the satellites too, so it'll just be actual dead garbage out there. And here I was thinking, you know, at least I'll get my stuff out there. It's there. But all I'm doing is wasting time. Wasting space. Wasting resources. I really just want this to be done. I'm glad everybody else can find a reason to smile and go on. Every time I think I get one, it's either taken from me or I'm belittled till I let it go. The joy on somebody's face today when I said that I was gonna quit the other platform. I hadn't actually said I was quitting. Just taking a break. I needed to reorganize my brain, obviously. But take a breather. I don't know how to achieve that in these interesting times. May you live in interesting times. Well, certainly do, hey? And I'm laying in bed, I think, a lot as I go to sleep. That if I had this camera with me, I'd be telling y'all how I feel about you and how you've made me feel. And then I'm thankful that I don't have that camera. A phone, right? That's what I mean by camera. I don't actually have a camera. But I use this one, and it has no space, so I never record anything on that anymore. Anyway. It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood.